The AEW Dynamite review here on Wrestling Headlines YouTube. In the new setup, in a new room. Nothing is right, but it'll do. It'll do for today. Hello, my name is Matt Maher, aka Imp, and I've realised I've just got James Boyd's Twitter handle under Sam's face, but I'm sure we'll be fine with that. Let's plug James Boyd. We're plugging him now. Anyway, today we'll be looking at AEW Dynamite from last night, and of course, the big thing. Sam, actually, no, let's introduce Sam first before we go into stuff. Sam Brown, how are you doing all the way from Australia, mate?
I'm doing very well, thanks, Imp. Thank you very much for having me. It was a fun episode of Dynamite. It's nice to be back on Wednesday nights as well, so I'm really looking forward to getting stuck in. So
I've not been able to... I mean, to be fair, it's quite lucky because there was a lot going on my side of the world. But I haven't been able to cover AEW as I've been on a Saturday, and I think that will continue. Like, every time they shift to a Saturday, I don't have the time on a Sunday to do this. So it's just I'm going to have to just take time off whilst I'm doing that. And I thought at the same time, you know what? WWE's in Saudi Arabia. I have absolutely zero plans to watch that show. Why? I've got so much to do. Why not just take complete time off? So this is my first stream in a little while. It's like, I'm not watching Crown Jewel. Why would I watch the Raw building to Crown Jewel? It makes sense. Just to kind of in that little world. So yeah, took a little bit of time off, got myself sorted, and now I'm in a room where nothing's right. The camera's not right. The lighting's not. It's fine. It's fine. Anyway,
peek behind the curtain. Imp's on a new PC.
Yeah,
and it's the first time he's done for it. So all I heard for the last 10 minutes was, "Oh, what if I do this? Oh, that didn't work. Oh, can I increase it? Oh, what's going on there? Oh, I need to change. Why is my thing so low?" It was very comical to hear from one side. No, nothing I can do here. Just sipping on some whiskey and offering some nice positive affirmations for my boy. He's struggling.
Seriously, like Sam was like, "We'll go live at 12. We'll do it. We'll go live at 12," and I'm like, "I'm going to leave it at past." Because what will go wrong? So much will go wrong. But we are live.
Hey, look, I was positive. I went for it. We didn't quite get there, but we beat what your negative. You're typically English. It is Ashes season, so I've got to lay a dig into you. Your typically English attitude happened, but the positive, optimistic Australian here, we prevailed, kind of.
Kind of, yeah. But anyway, we'll be covering AEW from last night, and might as well get into it. So we're going to start with the main event, with the title of this show, where as soon as it happened, I screenshotted it, and I knew what I was going to be naming this episode. Well, I didn't know what I was going to be naming it. I knew what the image was going to be, and the name came later. It's just like, I'll throw myself into the deep end. I have to come up with something. Me just staring at the document, just like, what the hell do I call this? With my Hangman page Photoshop. There was the Marshmallow. I was like, thank you, me. That was a great idea. This Hangman Marshmallow page is what we're calling this episode. And bit of a spoiler before we get into the match. But it was a spooky edition of AEW. I say spooky. It was more the Halloween party side of Halloween than the spooky watch horror film side of it. And we had a really fun main event. Everybody in costume, and that led into silly but also character and arc setting up and beats and everything. So it wasn't just silly. Like, this was like a massive episode in terms of characters reaching a certain point of their arc. But it was hidden behind marshmallows and big baby suits and all of this. It was just. I mean, it was still fun though, wasn't it, Sam? Still fun as well as hitting those arcs.
It was the perfect mix of the two. It had such levity and like a lightheartedness to it, and the wrestlers in there just knew how to bring that side of it out. But then, when the serious story beats needed to hit, they hit well, and there's things that have been set up for the future on both sides, and it was really, really good main event.
Oh, and so I have written little names down for every single person. So on the good guys team we had, and this one took a lot of deciding which one to. I went with Sparta Grayson, It was either God of Grace and Grayson of War. Gratos.
I like Grayson of War. I love that.
My personal
Gratos, that's a good one. Gratos. Gratos is probably like a move that he would do.
Oh, yes. 100%. And it's just an arm toss, but he does it with such force.
Yeah. or the one where he gets him up on the back in the backbreaker sort of position, flips him around.
Johnny Bambi, Rodeo Uno, and Brandon Coulter Cabana were the actual active team.
Beautiful. I love that last one. That last one's perfect.
Also, this is why I've not got many notes on the match itself. This is where the effort went. It's coming up with all these. Then we had.
Did you even watch the match in?
We had our Cowboys.
For that.
Cowboys, Alex and Angels, a Panto Horse, and Moo Cow and a J. Who just. There were cow patterns on her outfit. I thought she had some face paint on. I don't know if I'm making that up now. I literally finished the show like an hour ago. Look,
I'm not going to say it out loud because I'm not sure if it's something I should be saying in 2021. But I always defer to Mean Girls for what women Halloween costumes are. So those who know will know what I'm talking about there.
They were facing the spooky Elite. Who you're going to call the Elites. Also, amazing story where the guy does the music for AEW.
So imaginative there, him.
But yeah, with the the guy does the music. He was saying he got a contact. He got called earlier in the day to say, "Can you do this?" Then he was stuck in car traffic till like 6:30. I can't remember the show. I can't remember when the show starts. Did Dynamite starts at 8 or was it 9?
I think it's 8.
I think it's 8. Yeah, so he got stuck in traffic till 6:30, got there at 7, then I thought he said at 7:30 his computer crashed and he lost like half an hour's worth of work. Then he still blasted through and got it submitted by like 8:05.
My goodness.
And it was that good
that guy.
as well. To say...
Yeah, it was so perfect. Oh my goodness, that's crazy. Pour one out for Mickey Ruckus. You hear these stories about him. I remember when Homicide debuted at the New York show, and I think I saw on Mickey Ruckus's Twitter, it just had 30 minutes and then a link to the song for Homicide. How do you do that? It's just such insane level production.
That's just insane. I haven't got any names for the Elite guys. They were just the Elite guys in Ghostbuster outfits. I'm not going to go through each Ghostbuster cast. But we did have Big Baby Nakazawa, which, that was so good. When Adam Cole did the baby and Nakazawa's on ringside. Going, yeah, it's Big Baby suit. That was so good. And at the time, what we thought was Marshmallow Cutler. It wasn't Marshmallow Cutler. It was Hangman Marshmallow Page. That's what that was. Just the confusion on people's faces, especially as AEW is aimed at our millennial audience who maybe haven't seen Ghostbusters. Just, what's this Marshmallow person doing out here? It's Halloween. It's Halloween, guys. Get with it. And also watch Ghostbusters. It holds up today. It's still a good...
Look, as someone who hasn't seen Ghostbusters, I think what it is you're aware of Ghostbusters as a cultural thing, but not necessarily having seen it. You kind of may not be tangential aware of like some of the more nuanced parts of it, but you're aware of, how could you not be aware of Ghostbusters as like just a cultural meme?
They keep trying to make new films as well. That helps.
Yes, that too.
Fingers crossed for the next one.
Hey, Paul Rudd's in it. How can you resist those beautiful eyes?
Oh, look at us in Ghostbusters. He's just in... Oh, poor bird. Anyway, my God, how fun was this main event? It's just me just watching this like 15 minutes of pure Halloween party wrestling fun. Like another PWG main event in AEW with that high energy and comedy. But it all builds to such a strong character arc moment as the Dark Order finally beats the Elite with the help of Hangman Page. It's like, it's just everything about it. We just tied it up in a nice little bow. They don't earn like a title shot of anything, but they do defeat them. They get the best over them. Maybe the Elite were pissing about too much and it cost them, but they still lost.
Yeah, and there was lots of, every one of the Dark Order got to have like a beautiful little moment in there. Of course, God of Grayson, as I'll call him. He just had those insane spots where he did the backdrop kip up and then into the backflip kick. Of course, you had Uno doing cowboy stuff. John Silver just running wild and having some great back and forth with Adam Cole. I really think those two, like, obviously they've got the comedy stick down on BTE, but I think those two have like a chemistry that is worth exploring down the line somewhere. And Colt Cabana got his own moment as well, which was really cool to see. It's been so long since I've seen Colt Cabana get some sort of moment or like some sort of shine in AEW. He's been very unselfish because he's a very good operator, and he showed that here. Getting to do a few of his moves, getting to do the Superman pin, and of course getting to have my favorite of the comedy spots where he got the cold spray into Matt Jackson and just held the spray there even after Matt Jackson had left. And then of course you had the more serious bits where you had the sort of tease of tension between Omega and Cole, which was brushed aside in a second because of course they didn't want to show that out there, but it's just planting seeds where Kenny Omega's being maybe left out in the cold a little bit now that Cole's here, and of course the fact that the Dark Order got the win, and what a change in it felt so different to that 10-man tag that they did, where everything was so serious and so tense, and there was such high stakes to it, and it felt a little bit like in such a high pressure environment, the Dark Order sort of failed Adam Page there, but this time they didn't. This time, where they were able to perhaps be themselves a little more, funnily enough, given that they were wearing costumes, but they were able to let their hair down a little bit and they didn't have all that pressure on them. They were able to relax and win the day.
And like just the little things of Uno riding someone as a horse. Just as the crowd are going crazy for it as well. I mean, that's the other thing as well. The crowd were all on board for this, which is a massive deal.
Yeah.
Because
it was like a house show atmosphere.
Yeah. Well, because you know what this would be compared to from across the way. And the difference is those ones are more... They almost put in time-wasting slots almost on the shows, and it's all silly comedy, and there's no character kind of development at all. It's just like, go out there, have a silly match. And sometimes they're fun, sometimes they're not. But it all rests and falls on the match itself. Like, if it's too silly, then people won't get into it. Or they go the other way and then just have, like, a no DQ match. There so happens to be other stuff. Compared to this, where, yes, it was silly. Yes, it was fun. But it also had that injection of a whole arc reaching a massive peak moment and continuing to give momentum to Hangman Marshmallow Page as he climbs towards full gear. It's a perfect way to do a match like this. Like, even though there's lots of silliness, the Elite losing as well, because there was so much silliness, you can pin it on that. So even though it is Super Elite taking a loss in the main event, still, you could put it on them just being too silly. Like, they lost because they all decided...
getting arrogant and taking it too lightly.
Yeah, like they all decided to V-trigger a horse. Like, they just stopped completely what they're doing. And I was like, let's V-trigger the horse, and then let's take its head off and go, this is the person on the horse. And as soon as the horse was in the ring with the marshmallow, because I was just writing in my notes that there was a moment that I really enjoyed where they were going for the four-man powerbomb onto the Ghostbuster backpacks. I forgot what they're called. Onto their backpacks, and as they lift them up, because the referee was down, the Marshmallow Man was just at ringside pushing the referee. That's so good.
That was hilarious.
And by the time that I've got to typing that, I'm like, oh, but now that the Marshmallow's in the ring with this horse person, Cutler's definitely under the horse, and that Marshmallow's definitely Hangman. It's just when it came together, it's like, oh, I might delete these notes because I can focus on the Marshmallow bit.
And there was a wonderful tease earlier as well, where when John Silver did his thing where he runs wild and takes out everyone, he didn't take out the Marshmallow Man. I thought that was odd because normally Brandon Cutler takes the most hilarious little bumps off those. And I thought him in a marshmallow costume would be just hilarious, especially since it looked very difficult for him to move in. but it didn't happen. And I was like, oh, that's weird. Oh well, I'll move on with the show. I didn't think much of it, but this is a spot that always works. Where you have. I remember, years ago, it used to be Dean Ambrose hiding in things, Kenny Omega hiding in the drug-free bear, from and assaulting Cody back in 2018. These sorts of things always work, and the crowd just went wild when Hangman Page came out, and it was just just that perfect spot where you've got the crowd, you've got that dramatic irony of Matt Jackson looking on and Hangman Page behind him, as I think we had for the image at the start of this YouTube thing, and he doesn't know, but everyone knows, and he's about to find out in a big way.
So yes, 2 words: Marshmallow Page. No, he couldn't hit the buckshot in the marshmallow outfit, is immediately what I thought. I was like, is he going to give it a go?
I was like, how's that going to work?
Did you see him walking around the ring as well? I was like, no. And somebody on Twitter, I can't credit you because I can't remember who it was, but just put they said, I've gotten rid of all the audio apart from Hangman walking. And whenever he walks, like, for every step that Hangman takes. It's so funny. Like, he's meant to be doing his running wild type of stuff, and the noise just... That was quite funny. That was brilliant. But again, it gives that massive character beat of the Dark Order finally beating the Elite, and the Elite do have something to lean on. The fact that they were taking it silly. So, yeah. We got a hello, especially Sam, from Anthony Down Under. Especially to Sam.
Oh, shout outs to Anthony. I know he's been going through a rough time lately as well, so shout outs to him. Big love to him. Love having him along for the ride.
Random sidebar to go. Has Type actually messaged about the draft yet? It said ages ago he's going to post something, and it's been like 2 weeks.
No, it hasn't happened yet.
We're getting on to your Type.
I'm not holding my breath.
We've said it live on air now.
Something completely different. But back to the match. Look, just to round things out, like what a great. This story for Hangman Page is all about his own self-belief. And I think as much as it's about Hangman Page, it's also about the Dark Order and their own self-belief. And, what a boost of confidence this must be for all of them, with the guys being able to do it without Hangman Page. Well, kind of with him, but he wasn't on the team. And they had the Elite on the run. That's why the Elite had to cheat in that last bit. And, it was a fantastic last stretch. This is something that the Bucks and the Elite just seem to be able to manufacture every time. Just absolutely seamless escalation. And then we got the fantastic ending.
Such a good ending. And I can't wait for the Johnny Bambi skits on BTE. I don't know what he's going to do.
Yep.
He's going to try and kiss somebody. What's he going to do? It's Johnny.
He should go up to the bunny.
Yes.
Because Thumper.
Yes.
That's what he should do. Him and the bunny have to have some sort of interaction.
100%. It's just like when they're doing that skit last week, which was on Dynamite itself, where they're just saying, we're going to match against the Elite. When they dress up and Johnny's like, I'll be Bambi. Yeah, I'll be Bambi. But it's sexy Bambi. It's just what he's saying it. And as soon as he starts saying it, it's like, I don't doubt this for a second. Next week we're getting sexy silverback Bambi. It's happening. We got it. A question of, will Page become the leader? And I think they've done a really good job of establishing a relationship, but also establishing the reasons why Hangman doesn't want to be leader, but they're still friends. It doesn't mean he's their enemy now. It's like, no, they still get along. They'll still team every now and then. It's just he's not going to be their leader. Which I like.
He's kind of their spiritual leader in some ways, but he's not going to be like the head of the Dark Order, the new exalted one. Yeah,
which is, I think, a really clever way to go. Just you don't outright replace the leader up top. Really well done. Anyway, we've got an entire rest of the show to go, so it kind of makes sense.
Yeah, we started out hot. Started out with the main event.
I mean, wherever we started on this show, because it was yet another really solid card again, and as we were running through the cards for the next shows, I'm like, it's not stopping. Like, Rampage felt white hot. They go through all the matches, and I'm like, geez, these cards are loaded, like, week after week after week. And people are still getting rests as well. And there's like,
they're building to a pay-per-view.
Like, this week we didn't even get a Miro video or anything.
No, we didn't.
Yeah. And it's also a really good example of them rotating people, because Miro had that really hot run. He's been off about a month now. And this is the entire thing that Tony Khan was saying before Dynamite launched. Just that idea of rotating guys so they're not working every single week. The top guys are on it all the time, like Chris Jericho, Kenny Omega. Those guys are on the show every single time. But my God. Just every card is great.
Just to pick that up, because one of the things that I was thinking, and relate it to one of the matches that's coming up, like, that's so good for the welfare of the wrestlers and their bodies. Because one of the things that I always worry about with watching the modern style is it's so much more athletic and there's so much more risk taken by performers. And I look at, like some of the wrestlers who wrestled in the 80s who did, not even an eighth of what happens in the ring now, and they're like walking around in wheelchairs. Well, not walking around, they're in wheelchairs. And I worry about the wrestlers today, but, those wrestlers back then were wrestling 7 times a week plus twice on... like the 7 days a week and twice on Saturdays and Sundays. And so even though, there's guys like Sammy Guevara who do take very big bumps and probably do really hurt, I think they're taking so many less bumps that I hope it evens itself out. I don't know. I'm not a physician, of course, but I hope that him having a whole lot of time off and then having this really focused run is going to allow him to have a long and prosperous career and life after wrestling as well, just as, hopefully Miro will be able to as well, because he's having this time off. So, yeah, we'll see. But
yeah, and even led to me, like, later on in the show as well. We'll go through it in order. We're just kind of dabbling on little bits at the moment. Like, one of the things that hit me was I was surprised that Cody had a segment. I thought they did a really good follow-up with the Malachi Black bit, and I wasn't expecting anything more. So when Cody came out, as soon as his music hit, immediately in my head I'm going, this is going to be amazing. And
what's going on here?
It was just like this, because of Malachi Black's promo, it's kind of like they know exactly what's going on here. This promo is either going to shift towards what the fans have been saying, or kind of open up what they've been doing the entire time. It's one of the two. It's a mix of both, really. But the fact that Cody's music hit, just like, oh, it got me, yes.
Anthony says main event was D versus Sheeta. We will get to that.
We will get to that.
I'm looking forward to it.
Another one where as soon as the first person's music hit, it's just like, yes. You can feel it. You feel it in the room. Anyway, this was the October 27th, 2021 episode of AEW Dynamite, and it's a spooky Wednesday night in Boston. Sorry, in Booston. I forgot to write that down, I'm so annoyed. So anyway, CM Punk versus Oh no, I can't say Booby Fish. Bobby Fish. It doesn't get any better with my first line. In the words of Jim Ross, who will get the birthday boy ice cream? So why are you talking about Jim? That made me laugh so much.
This is why I come on.
Punk's Dynamite debut as a fish called Bobby caps one hell of a trilogy in his AEW rival. Random references out here. It's going to happen. On this day as well, with two men almost synonymous with Ring of Honor, opening the show with a match bathed in that style. Bobby unrelenting in his targeting of Punk's leg, breaking down so much of his opponent's offense, slowing down Punk, holding him up a tad, but most importantly leading to an awesome GTS counter into a Dragon Screw Whip. Memories of Kenta versus Tanahashi. It's like, yes. It's great. And a great match with Punk nailing that GTS, only to fall to the mat in pain and slowly go for the cover in the finisher kick-out pattern we know and love, only for the ref to count the pin anyway. And it's apparently the word was, this was something Punk asked for, where this kind of finish, which, to be fair, was a kind of finish that used to happen all the time back in the day, which is what AEW's been bringing back. I say back in the day, talking 70s and 80s.
This is like the classic Hulk Hogan, JBL 3.5 kick out.
So, yeah, it protects the opponent because they did kick out, but CM Punk wins, and the crowd ate it up anyway. Like, the crowd didn't care that visually you saw Bobby Fish kick out. They weren't crapping on the match or anything afterwards. They weren't going, he blatantly kicked out. They ate up that finish regardless. It's almost as if a crowd is given a lot to chew on, they don't dwell on in-ring little things as much. Because something else has got their attention. They're fine. They're happy. If there's a little boo-boo, it's fine. If you're doing a great song, who cares if you play a wrong chord just a little bit? Who cares? It's fine. They'll be happy anyway. Compared to if it's a crap performance, then you play a wrong chord. They will be on you. Which is... I'm trying to think of a metaphor for the difference why people won't be crapping on this. So, yeah. But also, it is that 80s finish, which protects the opponent. And we'll say the only difference is for this match compared to normal AEW openers, this was a completely different style, which I guess... Oh, Twitter cared, did they? I was not on. So, keeping it, obviously, Australian, a Britishman. You're also an Aussie, Anthony. Just the thing of... we weren't watching this live. Like, I don't go on Twitter until after I've watched the entire show. So I will then... I just realised I put my headphones out. I will then... go on afterwards, but then it's kind of like, what are the big points that are tracking? So the only things I see normally are either the people I interact with a lot, or like the thousands of liked tweets. The others just fall down, kind of stuff.
That's odd because I didn't think it was an error. I thought that's exactly what they were going for, because he went for the GTS. He hit the GTS, which is his finishing move, which puts everyone out, but he wasn't able to get the cover straight away. So the cover happened and it just got the 3. The point was it just got the 3. If he'd been a second later on the cover, then it would have been 2.5. But he just got the 3. And if he'd gone straight in for the cover, it would have been an easy 3 like normal. I didn't think there was anything wrong with this. And I think the reason is that the crowd buys Bobby Fish as a threat. He's kind of the perfect tough grizzled bastard kind of guy to have up against guys like Punk. He's a threat. He looks dangerous. His style feels threatening. He really leans into his kicks and his strikes and his knees and his elbows, and he looks menacing. And he has a grizzled old bastard demeanor about him. But ultimately, Punk got the win because he is the better wrestler. I didn't have any problems with the ending here, and I don't think the crowd really did either. I think anyone who's really got a problem with it's probably looking to pick, is making a mountain out of a molehill, because I think this is exactly what was meant to happen. He got the 3, but only just because of that little break, because Bobby Fish had done such a good job working him over that he couldn't get the cover immediately.
Yeah, and
there wasn't any confusion. Both wrestlers seem to know. Normally, when there's an error, you'll often see there's just even amongst the best of pros, there's a moment where the wrestlers look at each other, they look at the ref, and they're like, "Oh, what are we going to go with this, or are we going to try and make it cover up for this mistake?" There wasn't anything like that, so I don't think there was any issues with this.
Yeah, 100% agree, and it sets up Punk for the next thing. And in terms of setting up Punk as well, that means we have visually seen him go for a cover, and with a different referee, they might have spotted it and not given it. So if a different wrestler goes and targets a leg again, they've been shown a weakness. There is a chance that that won't happen. He sets it up perfectly for the next thing, and protects Bobby Fish, obviously, in his AEW arrival. So yeah, thumbs up or down.
Yeah, particularly if he ends up going against, say, Ricky Starks, who's got Taz in his corner, who's someone who, is put out there as a technician and someone who can game plan for his wrestlers.
Yeah, 100%. Right, so after that, a bloody Malachi Black, which I thought was a really good idea. Not just a promo cut this week, but a promo cut afterwards as well. So he's all bloody and it's in the darkness backstage. It's just telling Cody that the crowd hate you now. It isn't always about who wins the single match. The house always wins. And it's what he put out on Twitter last week, but he said it word for word to camera, and it aired on television. So now it's properly canon at this point. Malachi Black, it was more than just, can you beat me? Is that, but you lost to me in a different way, as well as twice actually against me as well. So Cody lost quite strongly here, and it set up something later with Cody's promo, which I wasn't expecting, because I thought this was a perfect follow-up just to make that line canon. For me, that was enough. Character beat wise, that was more than enough for me. I wasn't expecting anything else. So when Cody's music hits, my expectation went so high. Just because I know how good Cody is. And if they're doing it, as in they're going to do the turn, he gets that direction, I'm all in on this. Just yes. Perfect.
Yeah, with this promo, I think they're treading the line correctly. I don't know how I feel about people not caring about wins and losses. I feel like that should be something that everyone in AEW cares about, because this is the promotion where wins and losses matter. And not just because that's a nice slogan to have, but because the idea is that this is a promotion where the people who win are elevated towards the championship, and the championship is the goal, and the people who lose are put further away from that. So I'm not sure how I feel about them bringing into the I lost, but I had a different goal, like the sort of Bray Wyatt WrestleMania 30 vibe versus John Cena sort of thing. But you can do it for a bit, because people can have other motivations where where someone's so in their head, or they're so focused on someone that they're not worried about this climb to the championship that most wrestlers should be caring about, and this climb to the top of the company. And obviously Malachi Black at the moment is so focused on Cody that he doesn't have that. So look, I'm happy with how they're treading this line at the moment, but I've just I don't know, part of me's just like, maybe just be careful around that. That's not something you want to be bringing up too much. But so far, it's good, and the demeanor, as you said, the bloodiness, the grittiness of this promo, the demeanor, the way he delivered it was so good. This is a man who's got so much more charisma than I ever thought he had. I never thought he was good on the mic before, but turns out he can give a promo when he has character, he has input into his character and what he says.
And the question of, do we think Brody King joins him? Who they were teaming together in PWG, and as soon as you see them, like, oh my god, two big, beefy, bearded, tattooed boys. And they looked amazing together as a team. Personally, it depends what AEW want. Do they want to keep Malachi Black as somebody who has loose relationships and is more of a lone wolf, but he will tag with somebody if it meets his own means? Or is there an actual House of Black? Or, to be fair, Brody King can just be his big, fellow, bearded, tattooed friend. It doesn't have to be any more than that. Look at Andrade. They've got a shared past, which they've never brought up the shared past, but immediately the audience knows. And it works because of that. So I don't know. It depends what AEW want.
I mean, Brody King it's more likely today than it was yesterday. I'll say that much, unfortunately. AEW is a promotion that loves people to have allegiances, so they can, protect singles matches by using tags, which is smart. It's what New Japan did so well for so long. It's what lots of promotions have done, and it's working for AEW so far. I love the idea of Malachi Black just being this lone wolf, just someone who just does not need anyone else around him, and someone who is completely content by himself. But if anyone was to be, if I'm looking at people in the wrestling world that have that sort of chemistry and a sort of synergy with Malachi Black, then I don't think there's anyone more than Brody King, to be honest. I don't think there's anyone more that you could put there that, between not just the way that they look, but also they do have styles that work together. So, if anyone was to do it, then Brody King would probably be like the right up there as a number one pick.
Yes, we'll get to Cody's promo itself later. But speaking of promos, it's time for MJF. Versus Jobber Bryce Donovan, a young lad from Boston.
Good looking fella.
From Boston. I keep forgetting. MJF goes to tease shaking the young man's hand. I was like, I will respectfully shake your hand, as I suddenly realised there's someone dressed as Grim Fandango in the crowd. I was like, oh yes. Video game referencing has become so normalised in AEW, and I love it. It's great, fully accepting nerd culture. It's so good. Beating the lad down and draping him over the second rope within seconds to nail the heat-seeking missile, which is a great name for an MJF move. And speaking of, After the match, he cuts a promo I can't repeat on YouTube. But hey,
Yeah.
his Boston accent wasn't half bad. At least there's that. From Boston. My first attempt was better. Anyway, before he then gets to the Darby Allin point, running down the lad and calling his AEW Championship shot now that Darby Allin's out of his way. That since the beatdown, he's just not showed up. So I might as well move on to the championship when it's Sting! Or is it? It's MJF running a rib. Before the lights go out for real, and a quick wee video of Darby attacking a lad wearing an MJF mask at a man's music gig. whatever that was. With the phrase, "Now I'm going to break you physically," calling back to their promo, appears on the screen. And then it really is Sting! As the lights come up and he attacks everybody with his bat. Darby then surprise attack from the crowd. And if I'm right, he was legit dressed as the Invisible Man. Even man, that's the outfit that he wore in the movies. So I was like, that's incredible. That's amazing. Just, 'cause obviously, he's really visible. He's got the massive trench coat and he's got the towel around his head.
Yep.
It's just, but to be fair, because I'd already seen somebody dressed as Grim Fandango. Somebody as the Invisible Man.
And there was someone dressed as the Fiend.
Yeah. As in, like, it didn't seem weird. And then when he took it off, I was like, no, that was weird. No. Like, in this entire segment, there's quite a lot to unpack. He was dressed as the Invisible Man, and MJF didn't see him. And I love that. It's such a little thing, because I don't know the last time the Invisible Man was ever on screen. So that's such a niche reference. And I love it.
Yeah.
But yeah, it was a really, really good segment, and really hot when Darby Allin came in.
Oh, 100%. And Darby Allin is as over as MJF is as over. MJF is over. Let me start that sentence again. Darby Allin is as over as a face as MJF is as a heel. Like, just the crowd popped for Darby when he showed up, and I love how explicit they're being with, like, this is the next generation of people. And I thought it was really interesting that MJF just chucked in a sly Hangman, a side about Hangman. Which, every man and his beast has fantasy booked that MJF is going to be the person that beats Hangman Page for the AEW title, which makes a lot of sense. And they're just sort of, whether it happens or not, they're just sort of planting those seeds, because at some point these two are going to come back together. And, this is a company that remembers the history that wrestlers have together. And yeah, as I said, I just really liked how explicitly they're setting this rivalry up as, like, this is going to be a foundational rivalry going forward, and they're making it feel super, super hot, super heated, and it's something that the crowd is really buying into.
But
doing great work from both guys.
Being asked, who do we think is winning the Full Gear match? And that's a really difficult one to call, because it's one of those where it's that scenario where you like there's so many different outcomes that I'd be fine with all of them. Just because there's so many different ways you could go off from each result. Be it a Darby Allin win as MJF struggles against the four pillars but can beat everybody else, something like that. It's like, I like that. Or because to give MJF a kryptonite, I like that. He's super strong, but there is somebody who can break him down. Just which one do you pick? Darby Allin screams a perfect guy for that. Or you keep MJF's streak alive as well, essentially. So
particularly when Darby says you can't break me mentally, like that would be cool if that was the kryptonite for MJF.
Yeah.
But yeah. If MJF is going to go on and win the AEW Championship, as we think he may, then it would make sense that he would be the person to win. But at the same time, like, Darby is so popular. And, I feel like they could plug him into that title scene and it would make sense.
Yeah, there's, again, proof that there's so many different roads you can go down that when I say at the end, it doesn't matter because you set it up so well. There's so many different roads you go down. They're all good and they're all creative. Depends what they want specifically, where they see it going.
I wouldn't be surprised because I do think that ultimately they do use this to elevate MJF to a title feud with Adam Page. I wouldn't be surprised if they have if Darby wins the first match to set up that idea, and MJF, I don't know what he could do that's more horrendous than what he's already done, but I can believe he can do something. I just don't know what it is because I'm not a terrible person. But he does something like truly horrendous or horrific, maybe to something really bad to Sting, and that sets up some sort of no DQ match or some sort of stipulation match, and something that MJF can take out with all the combined forces of the Pinnacle.
Like MJF really tries to up the ante because that's how he breaks people, and Darby seems immune. So, because I think my expectation was MJF would have to show a new tact, but what if he doesn't? What if he just tries to go further and further over the line instead of actually adapting? Because he's a bad guy, and that's part of like a villain's personality is to not be adaptable in a positive way. Sometimes they are, so you can also do that as well. It's not bad. It's just so many different ways. And it's great to talk about a product where we're just like, there's so many different ways they could do this, and so many great storylines they could tell with it. It just depends which one they want to do. Whether they see their promotion longer down the line, and maybe what Sam's picked up there of him dropping Hangman, maybe that says everything. It's like, they're going that direction, possibly. We'll see. Anyway, we then got our first of many Schiavone moments throughout this show. He was everywhere. The teleporting bastard from like one segment, sometimes back to back, just in different places. Incredible. But first off, he was with Brit Baker, where after skipping on an Abaddon match on the Jericho Cruise, the champion pays the price by now having to face the last in a no DQ match on Rampage. That's great for the people who are on the cruise to suddenly have something that was on there become canon as well. It wasn't just a jokey nonsense as well. That's great to see. But yeah, no DQ match on Rampage, and that's where your spooky spectacular will take place on Rampage. If Abaddon wins, she gets a title shot. Yes, this is technically the BS from WWE of the championship contenders. However, in WWE, the difference is it's a kind of match that promotion books all of the time, just with a name slapped on it to try and make it sound important. When it's not, it's the type of match they've been booking for years anyway. It's no different. This card's exactly the same. Compared to AEW, where they don't book those kind of matches. So when they do book them, it is different. And it is separate. You can slap a title on it because it's different. They don't do it all the time. When you do it all the time, why do I care you got a name on it now? that's not, it doesn't make it any more important. But yeah, for me, that's the difference.
I think with this one, they didn't say this explicitly, but the idea is that, Brit pulled out of a match with Abaddon and she's meant to be representing the AEW Championship on this cruise, which is not an AEW promotional thing, but she's meant to be representing that, and so that kind of brings the company into disrepute because she's meant to be the champion, and here she is like skipping out on matches. So it's like, well, now you've got to actually have the match, and there's actually a penalty for you now because you've disrespected what you should be. What you should be standing for. So now if you lose, you actually have to face this one in a championship match. And look, I mean, I don't have a lot of love for Abaddon. It's like, I don't want to see too much of it, but look, if there's ever a time to have an Abaddon match, it's at Halloween. So, and I did love seeing Tony like so uncomfortably delivering this news because he knew that Britt would be pissed off about it, and her being like, "What are you saying, Tony? You're meant to be my friend."
I love that.
How can you be saying this? And he's just like, "Yeah, I think he actually said it. Don't shoot the messenger."
Anthony just let us know they did do this with the tag belts a few times, but again, because it's rare, I don't mind it. Yeah, compared to every week, obviously doing it every week is different. Every now and then, that's all right. Yeah, obviously with it being the women's title, I want to see bigger bookings. That's just longer book stuff. And currently there is a women's championship tournament going on, so a lot of the divisions just busy, not really.
Caught up,
they're caught up in that. But with the women's title, what I want to see is at least world title, maybe even TNT would be nice, just level stuff, because the women's championship just doesn't get that. And personally, that's what I want. I want that level of creative with the women's division. It's just not there, and that kind of sucks. That's the talent's getting there. The division is at this point now where I would start doing it, but I'm just kind of waiting for them to start. It's definitely in a much better place than they have been in their existence. Like, the women's division where it is now is the best it's been, but they're still not there. And I think just giving time, giving those characters those stories that the men are getting, that's what I personally want to see. And we'll get to that later because we have an amazing women's match, which is great to say.
Yep.
Yeah. So speaking of as well, the TNT Championship, Ethan Page versus Sammy Guevara. I've got no spooky names for either of these two. Sammy immediately flying with the knee. Yep, this is going to be.
It's right there. It's right there. Yeah. Spooky Sam.
Spooky Sam. That's speaking from experience of somebody with the name. Just like, I thought long and hard about this. Spooky Sam. It's just took a long time to come up with that. But he immediately flew in with the knee. It's like, oh yeah, the pace this one's going to be great. Guevara, for me, was already an amazing talent, but now that he's mixing it in with that aggression from his days with the Inner Circle to now the babyface aggression, like, yeah, no surprise that AEW regard him as a future pillar. Like, Sammy's, and also in terms of moves as well, his springboard cutter continues to look amazing. And speaking of, my God, that shooting star to the outside, that was hit with so much torque. Oh, so good. Yep. And I'm coming off of a Bushi G1 final, obviously just as like a huge reminder of the danger we were talking about earlier. But just like coming off of a Bushi G1 final where he hits one of the best Acai moonsaults I've seen. It's so picture perfect. Then see a young lad in Sammy hit a shooting star like that. It's like, the future's fine. They're fine. Yep. It's all right. Oh, incredible. Page also looking great as well. I want to give him his credit. And he was getting a tad more. I think Sammy was on top for a lot of this match, but Page himself held up his own, getting a tad more of a swing of things into the final back and forth stretch. A massive Brett's rope raises edge countered with the head scissors as Sammy continues his run of landing on his face at least once a week. You've got to get that tally up. A tad more of a counter run and Sammy scores a quick pin. After I realised why aren't I referencing Supernatural on Halloween week? What's wrong with me? Anyway, a tad more of a counter run and Sammy scores that quick pin. After the match, Jericho with the mic as we get our second promo I can't repeat on YouTube, hyping the now confirmed 10-on-10 match at Full Gear, now announced as a Minneapolis street fight. A fair bit to unpack there, Sam, but first off, what about that match?
Yeah, it was a very fun match. As I said earlier, Sammy just goes for these really big moves. He is a great person to have as a face, and as you said, he's sort of developing a more aggressive side, which I really like to see. I think he could easily be a bit too much of a pretty boy, certainly for me to get behind, but he is really starting to show a little bit more grit and a little bit more aggression, which I do like to see. And yeah, look, Page is really good as just this big immovable obstacle. He takes, I think in the Derby match as well, he took the majority of the offense, and he did that in this match as well. But he's got such an impactful moveset, and he looks like such a bruiser. He's got a really, he's a really big built guy, and so when he hits those moves, you believe that he only needs a couple of them to really catch up and really take someone like Sammy down. So I like their dynamic. I feel like the stipulation really made me, I didn't have much doubt, and you don't always have to have doubt going into a match, but when it's something that sometimes you go into Kazuchika Okada versus Bad Luck Fale for the IWGP Heavyweight Championship, and you know that Kazuchika Okada is going to win it, but it doesn't matter. And in this situation, though, I feel like it did matter because I feel like the stipulation was just a bit stupid. That Sammy, not only would he lose his title, but he would then also have to leave the Inner Circle. I just don't know why. You get to tell a champion that when I'm challenging for your championship, not only do you lose the championship, but I get to add a stipulation on. Like, it should be the other way around, where like the champion can say, well, to challenge for my title, you've got to have something at stake for yourself, because what was really at stake for Paige. And I guess the thing is that now they get to have that 5-on-5 match that, as you said, this one's set up. But yeah, look, really, really good move. Really good match. Really spectacular stuff from Sammy and Ethan Page. You know, he's proving to have been a very savvy signing by Tony Khan. Not someone who I immediately thought was like a standout performer, but is someone who is more than holding his own as just someone you can plug into something like this and get a really good result.
Speaking of plugging things in and getting a really good result, Tony is backstage. Tony Schiavone, he's backstage with Bryan Danielson and Eddie Kingston. Oh my God, yes. What an amazing pairing.
Yep.
Two men who can both make me believe their match is the biggest thing in the world. What an incredible pairing. Eddie Kingston just with I have to take antidepressants so I don't murder someone, and Bryan goes, yes. I want that.
I've been there too.
Oh, so good. Both of them with amazing passionate promos. It's just, oh, what a pairing. Well, and for AEW to realise that, well, for the others, we're just putting on the matches, but surely we have to do a promo for these two. It's just, oh, yes.
Yep.
Yeah, good on them to realise, and it just builds up, just that realisation as well. This is just a championship tournament semi-final match, and there's so much else on the shows that this is just another match. It's like, oh my, yes, there's so much going on. We're getting this amazing pairing. Oh, yeah, great stuff.
Yeah, they did this promo. They did a promo after Dynamite, after Dynamite during like I think it was the ad for Rhodes to the Top or something along those lines. I didn't watch the TV show, but I did watch the first promo they did, and Danielson, that's where Danielson said that he doesn't think Eddie works hard enough. And, you know, Eddie's the kind of guy who will like manufacture a grudge against someone just to like get motivated, and who feels like he's given his whole life to the business, and then he's got this person telling him that he doesn't work hard enough, but it's just like you could see him frothing at the mouth, and that's what you got to see on this return promo from him. And I love this Bryan Danielson. Like, he is so confident in his skills. As I think Rich Latta said on One Nation Radio, this is not a guy who looks at himself as an underdog. This is a guy who is a shark, and feels like he is the biggest shark in the ocean, and he isn't afraid to like throw his weight around and show that confidence. And he also mentioned Jon Moxley, which has me very excited.
I mean, you look at the brackets. That's the massive final, and to think that they will actually give it.
If they do anything else, they're crazy.
And it's not just Moxley versus Danielson. Oh, that'll be an interesting match. It's like, but the state both characters are currently at. Yeah. And we'll get to Moxley later, but it's just like Danielson in his confidence, and Moxley in his post-birth of baby daughter crazed mental state. It's just like that pairing. It's so good, so good. And after that, got Tony Schiavone again, back to back. This time interviewing the Lucha Bros, who accept FTR's challenge for a title match at Full Gear. I don't know if it's because of what's come so far, but I'm not massively invested in this. It just feels like an established opponent that Lucha Bros can beat just to continue their reign. It's still, but what sells it obviously is not. It's the thing that, in my way to get invested in WWE, quite often is but the match should be solid. You put these two together, it's going to be more than solid. So I'm perfectly fine to watch the match. I'm not massively into the story. They've at least tried to convince me with FTR winning the AAA tag team titles. So at least it's very similar to the Christian Cage thing, where I had zero belief that Christian was ever going to win, but they did their darndest to convince me there was a chance. So there's that. At least there's that. After that, we get to talk about Serena Deeb versus Hikaru Shida, the main event, TBS Championship Tournament, first round match. A great follow-up to their first match a few weeks ago, this time with bigger stakes on the line, as Shida's nameplate reminds us that she's still looking for that 50th win. Just a little detail there. And once again, Shida struggled to put Serena away. The vet described in commentary as she's the woman with 1,000 holes. But it also looks like 1,000 counters. It's like, yes, so good. And like the final 5 minutes were like so damn good as Serena locked in Shida in with hold variation after hold variation, one after the other, leading the crowd into chanting, "This is awesome!" As surely she looks like it's going to be go. But then Shida's conscience, her good guy conscience, it almost costs her as she refuses to lamp Serena with the trophy, giving it over to Ref Aubrey instead. And a huge pop and the crowd were loud for this as soon as the first person came out. As soon as Serena came out, they were loud for this. But there was a huge pop as Shida won, and it was just a series of roll-ups to advance into the next round, holding a bit of the 50 wins trophy up as she does that. I did it, hooray! But at what cost, Shida? At what cost? And lifted up high as Deeb angrily chops her down and viciously attacks afterwards. And I'm like, this is so good. This is so good. Shida gets her 50th win, but at what cost? Has Nyla Rose been gifted a free win as Serena Deeb takes her out? She got the win, but is she taken out of the tournament? Oh, so good. I loved everything about this, Sam.
Yeah, this was brilliant. This match was so smart, so good. This match is the template for how the women's division should be booked. Everything about like the way they built this, the way that both characters have interacted, they've got history together, and they played off that, this win was really important to Shida, but it was also really important for Deeb to establish herself, and what a way to establish herself than taking out the person who had been the most successful woman in the division up to that point. Both come out super fired up. This is the most aggressive I've seen Shida coming out. I thought she should have come out to like Rihanna's song "Bitch Better Have My Money," like and the Shida was hitting things hard. Sometimes I'm a big Hikaru Shida fan, but sometimes when she's against some of the women, she seems to let her strikes hit lightly, which is not a good look for someone who the commentary are always putting over as being super hard hitting and who strikes are such an important part of her arsenal. She was really laying into Deeb in this, and Deeb's response was like feeding off that aggression and was just like feral in the way that she went after Shida's leg. The way that these two countered each other as well, with Shida going for a few new moves because obviously it didn't work last time what she did, so she pulls out a question mark kick, she pulls out an axe kick, things that Deeb hadn't seen before, and they work. But Deeb is just so smart and just keeps on targeting that knee. She hits, gets her around the post with the figure four. And I'm so glad this didn't end up with a distraction roll up, because this match deserved a proper ending, and it got a really great ending where, Shida was smarter and Shida was able to out wrestle and outstrike Deeb. And, she got a huge pop for the win, but Deeb wasn't able to let it go. She attacked afterwards. These two have got a blood rivalry now. Like these two, whenever they see up, they are, these are dropping hands on sight now whenever they see each other. And it just sets up this tournament. It set up this tournament so well. And now Shida moves on to go against Nyla Rose, like another hugely historic rivalry in this division, the second and third champion of the division. And Shida and Rose have had a number of really, assorted matches as well. Just brilliant. Like this seems to be AEW like learning a lesson with the women, and you can see on the other side of the bracket they've got the similar things set up. Like they've got Jamie Hayter, it looks like, ready to go up against Thunder Rosa. What's like the other big, what's the biggest rivalry, unspoken rivalry in this division? Thunder Rosa versus Brit Baker, and we're about to see Jamie Hayter versus Thunder Rosa. So there's just like this is how AEW needs to book the women's division. And I think they're learning that lesson, and I think that this match completely shows that. This was one of the best matches in AEW, one of the best women's matches in AEW history.
Awesome to see that we're just convinced to watch the match again. Awesome. So good, so good. And for me, well, it was the aftermath as well that really sold it. It was, so good. And you questioning about the tournament as well. Oh, it's brilliant. Anyway, need to get through the rest of the show. We're getting
and how
close.
good is Deeb? Like, Deeb is just feral in her in the way she goes after the other women. It's so good.
But we are getting close to an hour. We've still got many segments to go through. So, first off, Teleporting Tony. Sorry, it's Halloween. Teleporting Tony. Oh, isn't that spooky? Backstage again with Dante Martin and Leo Rush. This Friday on Rampage, we've got Dante Martin versus Matt Seidel. This time, victory certain, with Leo Rush in the young man's corner. And they kept talking about the previous matches against Matt Seidel that they've had. And I'm just like, I don't watch Dark. I don't. I've not seen these matches. Like, this historic third match. Not seen the other two. It's not seen them. That set that up. Not really much else to talk about. Do we get Teleporting Tony later? Oh, I can't remember. So the AEW Eliminator Tournament first round match of the night. Press 10, Vance versus John Moxley. It's like, yes, exactly what I wanted. There was somebody called it on Twitter, saying that they should essentially, unfortunately for Press and Vance, they should Sonny kiss him. Just destroyed by Moxley, in, out. And that's exactly what they did. So good, so brutal. Obviously, I know I'm talking to a Moxley fan, so this will be interesting to get. But he comes out in a bad mood. It's like, yes, this is brilliant. And what really added it for me was a quick video of 10 decimating a lad on Dark. Just like a little bit that means so much when Mox absolutely clobbers him. 10 then bleeding heavily after a ringside kerfuffle, end up with him at the ring post, and Jesus, what a lariat! Almost decapitated. And Moxley beats a man to a pulp, paradigm shift, leaves, immediately kicks the barricade and exits through the crowd. I love everything about this gradual Moxley shift. It's great. Just it's so good. Just attitude changes week after week. It's so good.
Yeah, like you compare. So I recently rewatched some Moxley matches for my podcast that I'm starting, the AEW Match Guide podcast, and like he would always celebrate with the crowd and that. Now he marches to the ring, storms to the ring, basically like assaults a guy who got in his road. I don't know if that was a plant or not, but it was like this guy had stole his money or something, and he left even more pissed off after winning. Like, and just the violence that he did to 10 was abhorrent and vicious and disgusting. Like, he ripped his mask and bit him until he bled. And, I think he's going to win this. And this is going to inform a match with Hangman, because he has just, like, completely trodden all over someone who's Hangman's mate. How can someone who's like Hangman not, see this and be like, whoa, I need to step in here.
I think for me as well, just because when we're saying earlier about Moxley versus Danielson, it's not just that it's Moxley versus Danielson. It's that it's this Moxley versus Danielson, who's been on an absolute brutal tear. And if he continues that to Danielson, then the kind of fight back that Danielson does is going to match Moxley's brutal side so damn well. That pairing is going to be absolutely fantastic. And again, it's a pairing we've seen before in a different company, but it's the fact that it's these two in their current state versus each other. Yeah. Oh, it's so exciting. And just like Sam, I'm predicting Moxley wins this whole thing. And he doesn't have to destroy Danielson, because obviously that's a big match. You give them a big match with that one. But
100%.
Setting up, and he can set up Moxley for super heel Moxley to go up against Hangman. And he got time to do it, because he got a build to Revolution, and which I'm assuming, or unless they do it at Winter is Coming again, it's just it's so good. It's so, and
why did Bryan Danielson have to leave wrestling for 3 years? Because he was getting concussions. What does Moxley do to his opponents? He picks them up and spikes them on their head. This is not going to be a man who gets a favourable reception.
I mean, the Preston Vance here was left bleeding from the head with being attended by medics and then got lariated to hell and then hit with the paradigm shift. Even after he hit the lariat, he then clobbered on his head a bit and then hit the paradigm shift. It's like, I love everything about this. And for me, this is such a good way to do a heel turn, because it's not... It's not I'm a baddie now. Oh, look at me. It's not that. It's just it's a gradual attitude shift that we've seen over the course of weeks, if not months, and that means so much more when you start
and it's all
see this.
And we talked earlier about like wins and losses, and all of this is informed by the fact that this man got beaten and can't, and he's sick of seeing other people challenging for this championship that he feels like he deserves and should still be the owner of if it wasn't for like those damn elite.
Oh, it's so good.
Who screwed him? Yeah, and that's just been sitting with him for too long, as well as not getting any sleep because he's just had a child.
2 segments in a row where we're just like, this is brilliant. It's so good. And it doesn't stop there, because it turns out the final segment to talk about is Cody Rhodes. Cody Rhodes! I've got a spooky name for Cody. The American Nightmare, that's a spooky name, that'll do. And he, what a lovely surprise follow-up. I genuinely expected Malachi's words to be it for the night, but honestly, this was a great promo. It's just following up on everything that happened and just telling the crowd, just apologising, but also saying, if you're going to boo the narrative, boo the right narrative. Don't forget who built this bank. And the crowd are 50% applauding him. When he entered, it was almost 0, but half of them started clapping to him. And flat out stating he will not turn, which is the best way to instigate a turn. Yes, I love that. Apologises to all of us to the mixed response. Then out comes Andrade, who flat out tells the crowd he doesn't like them. No, sorry, I just love it. Andrade flat out tells the crowd he doesn't like them, to raucous applause. After Cody's just been like, I'm so sorry, guys. Please, if you want to forgive me, that's fine, or no, whatever. Just to know, if you're going to boo, just boo the right thing, just so you know. And then Andrade's like, I hate all of you. Hey, it's so good. But the verbal rundown from Andrade was a trap. He ran down his neck tattoo and everything. It was brilliant. But it was a trap as the lights go black for Malachi. Super team assemble. Like, oh, Andrade Black, this is such a great team. To set up another super team as Pac charges down to Teddy Long us into a future tag match. He's like, oh, yes, Pac and Cody versus Black and Andrade. I'm all in on that, all in. An awesome final bit, and then as well as Pac just sits cross-legged and screams middle fingers at Andrade. I thought it was so good. Just that visual. He didn't just give him the finger.
I thought he was doing it at Black because he was, mocking Black's pose of sitting in the center of the ring with his... Yeah.
It's just the fact as well that he was screaming whilst giving the middle fingers. I was like, oh, this is, an amazing visual. But yeah, that entire thing, from Cody's promo to Andrade coming out to then Malachi's like, oh yes, the super team is an actual thing. It wasn't a temporary 1 week thing. They're going with this. And then for Pac to run down as well and make me go, this is an amazing tag match. It just, round of applause all round. So damn good.
Yeah. I still think they're turning Cody Rhodes heel. At some point, they have added strings to his entrance song. He's getting more and more grand, more and more big for his boots, but he's not going he's not acknowledging it, which is part of the thing. I think he is on a highway to a match with CM Punk at some point. Even just one of the first things that CM Punk said when he returned was, "I heard you." What did Cody Rhodes say? I hear you. And he took his shoes off and threw them into the crowd. What did CM Punk do a couple of weeks ago? Took his shoes off and gave them to a bloke in the crowd. He basically cut a promo about being Triple H and how he's, it was a quasi-reality era promo. I'm not sure how much I loved the whole I'm not going to turn. I don't care about I don't want you bringing your I don't want that meta narrative kind of coming into my wrestling, to be honest. I don't like that. That's not something that I really like. But this was a quasi-reality era promo that, CM Punk was one of the instigators of in WWE, this style of pulling back the curtain in the way that they're doing. I think these guys are on a collision course.
Oh, yes, I mean, especially if it is super babyface Punk and super heel Cody. Unless it could be the double turn match as well, or the single turn for Cody.
I may be imagining that thing with his entrance song, but I do not remember it having strings before, and it's definitely got strings now. Next time you're checking it out, listen. I think I'm going to go back to an old version of his entrance and have a listen. But I think they've added strings to the back of that song.
Would say like if he at the end of his promo, if he shouts like John Cena, goes, "I will never turn. I will always stand by the fans." If he says it like that, then he's not turning, type of thing. But if he says it like this, just mid promo, just in the flow of it all, just saying to trigger the next part of it, just saying, "I will not turn." Just the way that he said it is like, "Nah, you're turning." Just everything about this. You are.
I do.
This is a slow turn as well, which is again the best way to do it.
I do think they needed to have this promo for the point, just to not treat the audience like they're stupid. To say like, "Yeah, we hear you." It's like, look, we're telling a story, and we're going to tell that story, but we're not just actively ignoring what you're doing. And we're not just going to explain it away. Like, we're going to not just explain it away like, oh, some people love to boo when they're meant to cheer. These people are so crazy.
Oh, yeah, it's suddenly just reminded me, it's like, oh yeah, we don't get that in modern day WWE really, because the one guy they were doing it with, they turned heel, so it's fine.
Yeah.
But it was for so long, it was one person, because it was Cena, then it was immediately after intervenes, the exact same reactions, and both were understandable. Bad writing makes you boo the good guy. But to see AEW go, when that is happening in AEW, they go, no, we're just to say, we are acknowledging you, we are going somewhere, you'll find out where. I did like that, and just Cody, say, half telling them off in terms of boo the right thing, and then the other half of the crowd just like, no, you're right, yes, tell them to boo the right thing. Is it as soon as he states he will not turn, he's turning. It's happening. We're on this road, and it's building so well. And to say he's then transitioned into mixing up with Pac and Andrade, and you got Aleister Black in there as well. Suddenly he's like, oh my god, he's competing with the super NXT people. It's gonna be amazing.
Yeah. I want Pac to just say something like, I don't actually like you. You just don't think I like you.
And I
like, I want to fight you next. Yeah. Don't worry, I want to fight you next, Cody.
They're on a fantastic run right now. As you saw us reviewing the show, it was like back to back segments, which is like, this is brilliant, and then after this was the main event. Which is just ending in such a fun note as well. Hangman Marshmallow Page is we are in such a great era of AEW, and the momentum just keeps on running. It's just that thing of, after they've done this, what are they going to do? Well, they're always in the background, always setting up that next thing. So you never have a down period, which again is a massive thing I have in WWE, where they'll do a big thing, but then they have to set up the next one, and quite often they'll have a filler feud to then set up the next thing. It's like, we're just carrying him over before we get to the next thing. To which Andrade, while AEW's got that solution, just take him off TV for a bit, just rotate him round. And when you have rotations be normal anyway, fans are fine with it. Like,
all the filler thing is Pac versus Andrade too.
It's
like a 4.5 star 5-star match.
Like, what a way to do it. Oh, Jesus. Anyway, that is everything on the show, because after this they started running down the cards for Rampage and Dynamite, and they'll just go for normally I would note down what they're saying, but I'm like, when I was watching this, I was like, Jesus Christ, they're naming so many things. They've got so much coming up, and it's kind of the run of the rhythm, where when you get close to the next pay-per-view, suddenly every Dynamite feels absolutely loaded, and as they just build to Full Gear and get that anticipation up, we're really not that far away now. Full Gear is just round the corner, so my next late night is just round the corner with Full Gear. I'm so excited. Next year's calendar is going to screw me up. WWE and AEW running very close to each other in terms of those pay-per-views. I'm not going to like that. Anyway, for me, and yet another really strong episode of AEW. That phrase again, how is every episode of AEW the best one? It happens again. And as always,
this was very fun.
as always, an honour to be joined by Spooky Sam. Oh, and the first thing as soon as we logged onto the call, I was like, "Oh, you're a very fuzzy boy, Sam. Very fuzzy boy."
Yeah, it's the COVID lockdown beard. It's gonna go. We have unlocked here in Australia. Hit that 70% vaccination target about a month ago, and I've booked in for the barbers this time next week. So this fuzz, this fluff that I've somehow developed and put in place is it's going. But if I can before I leave, on the I've got a project that I've been working on that debuts on the 12th of November. That's the Friday before Full Gear, called the AEW Match Guide podcast, where each week I deep dive into a match that is an AEW match that was voted into the the definitive AEW match guide earlier this year. I've got a number of different people who are coming on. My first guest will be Ms. Fan from the Legacy series, WCW the Legacy series, WWE the Legacy series, and I've also got Imp on later on in November, early December. So lots to look forward to. But yeah, look, if you could check that out, you can find it. You can find the trailer for it on my Twitter, Sir_Samuel, or if you go into any podcast provider and look up AEW Match Guide Podcast, you'll see it. It's like a little blue logo, and you've got some aviators, a stag, and a cigar as the little kind of logos underneath it. So I'd really appreciate it if you check it out, subscribe to it, and first one drops 12th of November.
That's 12th of November. Don't forget, 12th of November, the AEW Match Guide with Sir Sam starting off every single week, someone diving into a new match in detail. Really looking forward to that kicking off. I always want to get Ms. Fan on, but of course I review WWE quite a lot, so obviously needs to be showing.
Hey, he'd love to. I'm sure he'd love to do an AEW one if he could make the times work. He would love it.
Yeah, 100%.
Although I don't think he watches live typically, so you may need to fiddle with. Although then again, we don't watch live typically either. So
yeah, the only one I watch live is the pay-per-views, and that's like 4 times a year. So that's fine. They always find a way to grab me with at least one thing. Like last year it was Blood and Guts, this year CM Punk. Like they normally get me up at least once a year. They find a way. They find a way to get me. Anyway, so I will be back. I think I'm back on the Raw reviews. So I'll be back reviewing Raw next Tuesday. Poor me. I've enjoyed these few weeks that I've just not. I've just not watched any WWE. 11th of October. So I might have only missed 1 week, but you feel it. It's other 2 weeks. It's just like, oh man, you feel so much freer. It's not wasting your time with a show that's wasting your time. It's like, I can do things. I can move some stuff. Some stuff needs moving. I can do it. I've got the time. Anyway, so I'll be back on Tuesday with the Raw review. That will be in the middle of the night, which is my normal time for these sort of things. But I make a special occasion for Sammy. So on this spooky special, beforehand I've tried spooky things to make it special. This time I've just done a voice. So I feel lucky. You should feel. I've not even worn a black shirt. I've worn full white. I've not even gone to Halloween at all. So I haven't got the message. It's Halloween. Obviously, I'm wearing a black t-shirt. Not me. No, not me.
My mock shirt.
Anyway, I'll be back on Tuesday for the Raw review. You can follow me on Twitter at the Damn Implicat. It's Dam as in Damn. Also over on Twitch, trying to get that started up at the Implications with 2 S's. And you can follow Sir Sam not at James Boyd 87. You can follow Sir Sam at.
It's a different person. Sir_Samuel Sir_Samuel. That's my Twitter thing. I don't know why I'm questioning myself so much right now.
I could have changed that at some point during the show. Instead, I adjusted my brightness. It's just my settings aren't right. They've been ported over from a laptop.
James is also a good follow, so you can also follow him. He is also a good lad to follow. And the AEW Match Guide podcast, subscribe to it on your podcast provider.
So anyway, I'll be back next week at AEW as well. So with that, thank you for watching, liking, engaging in any form, any manner. Always appreciated, never taken for granted. And with that, we bid you adieu. Adios.
Hooroo.
I should have been like, good eye.